Hello, this is Tim Law with Playing It Forward Coaching, always encouraging your self-reliance. If you'll develop a marketable skill, chase that marketable skill with a good, solid work ethic, develop some people skills, be a team player, and always go the extra mile. You'll be amazed at what you can accomplish here in this country. A big thank you to about 485 people that have subscribed to my channel, Playing It Forward Coaching. Very much appreciated. If you haven't already, please do so. I am extremely excited about having one of my best friends from my our college wrestling days at Oswego State College, SUNY Oswego, on the southeast end of Lake Ontario. A gentleman by the name of Paul Westfield, who served in the Air Force for many, many years. Also was a FedEx flight flyer as far as his work and career were concerned. Good friend of mine, Paul Westfield. So Paul, tell us your story there, and great to see you as always, my man.
Hey, Tim. Yeah, it's awesome. And what you're doing is awesome. I have so much respect for that. I'm so excited to want to be a part of it. Thank you so much. Yeah, my experience with wrestling, well, I'll just share this with you. My wife always asks me, why is it you keep talking about wrestling all the time? You're an old guy. Well, why are you talking about wrestling all the time? I said, because wrestling formed who I was. It gave me the skills. It gave me so much that has influenced my life, that my life would not be what it was without wrestling. And so that's why. But the big thing with me is that it was just, I love the sport. I love the intensity. I love the challenge of it. And it kept drawing me back. Actually, Tim, without wrestling, I probably would not have finished college, because I was in and out of college a number of times. I know that was frustrating for Coach Howard sometimes, because I was paying my own way through school.
Sure.
So occasionally I would be out for a semester to make more money so I could come back in. I'd miss half the season. So I didn't develop my skills as well as I could have, and he didn't have me on his roster, which was frustrating for him, I know. But it kept dragging me back because I love the sport. I loved you guys. I loved what I learned from it. And, I'll just share this with you. One of the things that I've realized is I used to think that wrestling taught me perseverance and hard work and dedication, and it did all that. But what underlies that? What is deeper than that allows you then to express that perseverance and that dedication? It was self-awareness. And that's what I gained from it is wrestling taught me to look at myself and to understand what was working within me and what I had control of and what I could choose to do. And that not only was in terms of effort, but in managing people, dealing with people, self-control, self-management, and self-awareness emotionally, even on the wrestling mat when you're frustrated, you're angry, but how do you keep your head? And it was that self-knowledge really that then gave me the ability to have a realistic view of who I was and what I was bringing to the table, that then let me step up to the plate and challenge myself with things that I never would have believed I'd been capable of doing.
Sure. No, that makes total sense, Paul. And the ancient Greeks had a line, and I guess you could say for men or women, but the saying at the time was, man, know thyself. And obviously we're referring to men and women. And, I think you summed that up beautifully, something that the ancient Greeks actually talked about. Paul, there's a great story that you shared with me, and I'll tell you, it just gave me chills and shivers because of what you talked about, the story with this young man named Kyle, who was 13 years old when you first encountered him. And please tell us about that story. That is awesome.
Well, I'd heard that I was running a wrestling program in Florida, club, external to school programs. And I was just getting it started. And I heard they were doing an all sports camp at the high school. So I got hold of the person doing it. I said, hey, you doing wrestling? Well, no. I said, well, let's do wrestling. Well, there's no money for you. It's already divided up. I don't want any money. I just want to put mats on the mat and show the kids wrestling. Oh, okay. So sure, you can do that. So they gave me a hallway and some mats. And in the course of it, I had a bunch of young kids and this one young fellow I'm watching, and he does this blast double that was perfect. I mean, it was perfect. Body position, energy, everything. And I came over and I said, well, where'd you learn to wrestle? And he goes, he looked really confused and nervous. And nowhere, coach. I go, well, where'd you learn to do that double? Well, you just showed it to me, coach. And I stopped for a minute and I thought, okay, I'm a pretty good coach, but I'm not that good. This young man's got some talent.
Mm-hmm.
So I engaged him and got hold of his mom. And well, I come to find out that he was already been had some trouble in some regular middle schools. And he was in a middle school for kids who had violent issues, and he was about to get thrown out of there. He was having some real issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got hold of staff and I said, look, before you do anything, I said, this young man's just volunteered to join my group in wrestling. Let me work with him. Let me work with him for a while. So I got engaged with the school and with the parents, and actually just the mom. Dad was nowhere to be seen, and he had a bad home life, which explained a lot. But young Kyle would, if he was in the wrestling room and he was handled by one of the other boys who knew more, he would get just red in the face and frustrated and angry, and he would run out of the room, or he would punch, or he would do something. And it took me a little while to figure out that what Kyle had never learned ever in his life, that you could feel one thing, but actually behave another way.
Mm-hmm.
He had just never learned that. The self-control, self-management was just non-existent. And so when we'd wrestle in matches, and he was a great young athlete, but he would get so angry at losing, which we all had to in wrestling, right? You can't learn to wrestle without losing. It's part of building success. But he would run off the mat and go to the locker room, and I'd have to go in the locker room, sit with him, get him back, go find the young man on the stands, make him shake hands. And gradually over time, he gained that level of self-control and pride of behavior, and understanding of the process of building success comes through lack of success, through failure, if you will. Well, he went on to be a high school wrestler, had a great time. And I lost touch with him. I moved out of the area. About 15 years later, I got a phone call, and it was actually might have been almost 20 years later. And he says, "Is this Coach Westfield from Florida?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, this is Kyle. Remember me?" I said, "Of course I do, Kyle. How are you doing?" He goes, "Listen, I was talking to some friends in Florida, and they helped me trace you down. I just wanted to share with you that I am now an E7 in the Navy." That's very high up.
Wow.
Very high up as enlisted person, something like that. E6, maybe it was an E6. He said, "I'm married. I have 3 children. I love my life. I have a great life." And he said, "I just want you to know that if it wasn't for you, I know that I would have either been in prison or dead by now."
Wow.
So I just wanted to thank you, Coach, for what you did. And I was just completely blown away by it. And you never know the influence you have on these young men as volunteers in athletics, and they go off and do their own thing. And it's an amazing sport, and it's an amazing thing. I just unfortunately was attending the funeral services of my old high school coach. And we were talking about that, of all of his athletes who became coaches and have spread the motivation and dedication, excitement of the sport that he had through us. And then we, through all of the thousands of kids that it's affected. It's fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and you know yourself, Paul, I'm preaching to the choir to you that the most important thing about, I don't care what sport you're involved with or whatever, it's really about the lifelong life lessons. You know, that, like you said, the self-awareness and everything like that, we've all gained by, having to dig deep, have that situation where we went down, remember going down to Wilkes College one time, and I think they beat us like 40-2 or something like that back in the day, when you could, a tie was 2 team points, and just having our doors blown off, going to Clarion, that type of thing. But it was the competition. It was, this band of brothers that we had together at Oswego State, and a lot of the other colleges obviously had that as well. It's a great camaraderie. It's a wonderful fraternity, and the women wrestlers are bringing a great sorority to it as well. So it is just a great bonding experience for sure.
Oh yeah, one of my gals that came to me in the club, in my club program in Florida, actually got accepted up at the Olympic Training Center. Was up there for 2 or 3 years and wound up with a full scholarship to Mizzou years later.
Wow, very impressive. So what
Yeah,
would you say? Go ahead,
go
Paul.
ahead. No, please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, what are some of the key life lessons, along with what you've already said, that you felt that the sport of wrestling's helped you with?
Well, one thing that I've always hoped I was able to do as an older coach, by staying active on the mat, because it's been within about 3 years now that I was actually still on the mat wrestling live with these young fellas.
Mhm.
And when COVID kind of put a end to some of that. But if when they see fellows like you, Tim, you do such an awesome job of this. They see lifelong athletes, and too often I've seen throughout my life athletes in high school who then, when high school's over and there's no organized sport for them, they just give up on fitness.
Mhm.
It's not because it's not a part of their living. It's not a part of their standard of living. And so I try to impress upon these boys that why in my 60s can I still go live with a guy who outweighs me by 70 pounds on a wrestling mat, is because I've stayed fit. And that I use the phrase fitness is freedom. And I enjoy freedom. I go elk hunting, I go hiking, I get on the wrestling mat. I have so much fun doing all the things I want to do. That doesn't mean I don't have aches and pains. But it means that I can get past that and keep enjoying life. And that's a big part of it, is giving back is the other thing. I think, and there's so much to be said for that. Volunteerism does so much good for the brain, for the heart, as for your mental health, really. It's fantastic. So volunteering and being a part of something bigger than yourself and giving back is just awesome. And that's what wrestling's all about, is taking care of each other.
Sure, sure. No, I definitely agree there, Paul. Very, very well said. Any special memories that you have as far as back on the Oswego days or anything like that? You know, things that can be repeated, or are we kind of drawing a blank on that?
Well, I'll tell you, one time I was down at the Wilkes Christmas tournament, and I saw Wade Chalice wrestling. And I got to know Wade later on in years down in Florida. He's been living down there. And he was in the finals wrestling a national champ from the year before. So we had two national champs from two different weight classes. And I saw Wade, he was on top, and he started doing this weird, he was like tucking his head up underneath the guy. I'm like, what is he doing? I didn't understand what he was doing. And these are, I mean, two national champs. This is some serious stuff out there.
Sure.
So afterwards, I said, what was that all about? He goes, well, you know, he was closed down on this and I couldn't get him to open up in that. So I thought if I tried this, he might do this and that. So this guy was making up moves against a national champion in the finals. And that impressed me so much, because what it said was that he had absolutely no fear of failure. He was going to try new things and expose himself, because he had such confidence that the result didn't matter. It was the attempt that was the important thing.
Sure.
And so that stuck with me. And that is something I realized over the years. Was my own biggest limitation in wrestling was my own head. Okay. You know, the limits I put on myself, the beliefs that I had of myself, that is what held me back more than anything, quite honestly.
Sure, sure. Well, and just to put things in perspective for people that aren't familiar with Wade Chalice, who was like one of the dominant wrestlers of our era. In fact, he's in the Guinness Book of World Records. His creativity and everything, for people that are more familiar with, let's say, Magic Johnson or Larry Bird in basketball, that's what Wade Chalice was, like a total magician. He was just an incredible creative wrestler, you know, back in our era. And, you know, that's how I kind of compare him, so that the average person who may not be as familiar with wrestling as you and I are would understand just what this guy was all about, you know, the Michael Jordan or the Bird or Johnson of our sport, for sure. Well, Paul, this has been wonderful. Any last second thoughts before we close it down? And can you stick for a minute or two after we're done?
Yeah, I'll hang around. And but I just want to thank you, Tim, for all that you do. You know, I don't know if you're listeners may not realize it, but Tim is kind of like he binds us all together. You know, he keeps us in touch, and he's kind of an anchor. He's been a leader in the team when he was there, and he's still a leader. And you know, those are the kind of traits that develop in our sport, and you just don't lose them. So thanks for all you do, Tim.
Well, I appreciate that very much, Paul. When you get a great group of guys as we had there, and you know, and a lot of those guys that Coach Michael Howard has now, they're just awesome individuals, and the sport just does so much for so many people, and all sports do. And I always encourage people to, you know, get involved, whether it's sports, band, music, extracurricular, be that person in the school play, you know, just get involved and you know, give back. It's a great way to create value that's going to carry over in the rest of your life, you know?
Well, there's a lot of science out there now also that shows that the value of not just aerobic, but actual resistance training, weightlifting, or sports that require effortful behavior is fantastic for the health of the brain. It offsets Alzheimer's and some of the other dementia diseases, increases oxygen, helps neuroplasticity. There's just so many good things associated with working hard and staying in shape under a doctor's care. So I'll throw that out there for us old guys.
Well, this has been wonderful, Paul. So please hang for a minute, okay?
Sure will.
Thank you.